And welcome back to yet another Buffalo Bills pregame. We are joined by some Buffalo Bills pregame alumni. I am Randy, of course, Jared, our trustful producer, and back for the playoffs, we got Dan and Sean here at Buffalo Bills pregame. Gentlemen, welcome back. We have the second seed. This is unprecedented Buffalo Bills pregame territory because we are previewing a home playoff game. About time, right? We could have been doing this back in the 90s, only there was no YouTube, the only thing holding us back. We were going to jump right into the biggest news of the week. That is, we have fans in attendance for our home playoff games. And we've got a couple guys here who are going to be attending. Dan first, then Sean, your feelings on going to a sparsely attended Bills game this week?
You know, it's really great, man. I mean, I don't know what I did to deserve a ticket. I mean, I feel pretty lucky. I mean, there's so many. Well, I know what I did, Jared, to deserve a ticket. My dad's been a season ticket holder for a very long time, so that's why. But I didn't do anything specifically. I just know there's a lot of Bills fans out there that have had season tickets for a long time, or just been Bills fans for a really long time that would have done anything to get into the game. So I feel pretty lucky that I'm able to get into the game. It'll be weird. I'd compare it to a preseason game because there's gonna be no one there, but I don't think even that. It'll just be a weird experience. I'm glad I was able to catch one game that's gonna be like this. But yeah, no, I'm going to get tested on Wednesday. Hope everything goes well with that. And then Saturday at 1:00, we'll be there. We'll see how it goes.
How do you expect the crowd, the size, like 1/10 normal size, will affect the game? Is this going to be able to affect the energy of the players? What do you think about the in-game feel?
Yeah, I definitely think that it'll affect the players. They were saying like pregame, since there's no tailgating, everyone would pretty much get there early. And so during game warm-ups, I mean, I'm sure there'll be a lot of fans there trying to trash talk the Titans across the tarp there. And then obviously like trying to rev up the Bills players. You know, and obviously I think, you know, the Bills players know how crazy we are. So, you know, just having us screaming behind them, even though it won't affect, you know, maybe like the plays really that much, it's, you know, it's a moral support that really matters there.
All right, looking at the matchup against the Colts, we are facing what has been a very potent running attack. Jared, we'll start off with you. What do the Bills have to do to slow down what has been one of the better rushing offenses in the league this year?
I think they just need to keep stacking the box and staying really good in what they do in terms of their secondary. So we're taking that out of the equation and just having those front six just really focus on the run. I looked at the comparisons of the defenses overall throughout the entire league, and there's only been 3 times all year that Jonathan Taylor actually rushed more than 100 yards. So, I mean, everyone's really worried about him right now, and rightfully so. He's the 3rd best running back in the league via his numbers. However, last weekend he played Jacksonville. He had 253 yards against Jacksonville, who was getting the 1st round pick. So we got to take that with a grain of salt. Based on the Bills' defense, based on all the defenses in the league, I'm projecting about 100 yards from Taylor. So he's got to have some drives. He's going to do he's going to get some scores. But really, what it comes down to more even than our own defense is really our offense. We have to keep ahead of the Colts. If we are able to do that, they will run the ball less because they have to catch up. And if we take that running game away from them, then we don't have to worry about Taylor as much.
Score our way out of their most potent offense. Dan, we are about to face one of the more savvy veteran quarterbacks, maybe Hall of Fame quarterback in Phillip Rivers. What do you see being our strategy to contain him?
You know, I think with guys like Phillip Rivers, a lot of the older veteran quarterbacks, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, guys like that, you know, they'll start the season off pretty decent. And then, you know, I feel like by the end of the season, they're not what they were. You know, they kind of falter off. And I feel like you've definitely seen that with Phillip Rivers. You know, I don't think – we were talking about this earlier, Jared. You know, the Colts haven't played too much in the cold, really. So I think, you know, that's going to play into it. And like you said, Jared, I mean, if the Colts get down it doesn't scare me to think that Philip Rivers has to bring them back into the game. You know, if we were to stack the box and really make them run it and make Philip Rivers, you know, use his arm to beat us, I think we're in good shape. Kind of do the opposite of what we did against Kansas City. Kansas City, we were begging them to run the ball, and they ran all over us. But, I mean, in a way that kept us in the game at the time. I think we just got to do the opposite of that and make Philip Rivers beat you, you know, when it comes down to it. I don't think he has – I mean, they have T.Y. Hilton, who's looked decent. The Colts have Michael Pittman, who's looked okay. But they really don't have any major threats outside of their backfield. If you noticed, Philip Rivers, he throws to his running backs a lot. He throws to Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim, Hines. You know, he utilizes that backfield a lot. So if you can take them out of the game, I think you're looking really good, especially with how the Bills' offense has been looking.
Sean, we'll go to you for the question about the wide receiver position. John Brown came back last week. Cole Beasley's down. Isaiah McKenzie had a breakout game in the absence of Beasley. And we've made some signings for the wide receiver position. What do you think the wide receiver group looks like going into the game, and how is it best utilized?
I mean, I think you got to look at their acquisitions of Kenny Stills and Tanner Gentry to look where they're comfortable. You know, those guys are depth players. I think Kenny Stills could definitely make a play. I mean, I'm sure he's decent. They wouldn't just pick him up if he wasn't. And so I think doesn't really matter. Like, you still got your top guys, John Brown, Cole, or Stefon Diggs. Like, you know, Gabriel Davis had a record year. Like, when you take one guy out of there, it's amazing how good this offense is. Take one guy out there, and they're still putting up massive amount of points on the number one defense going into that game, scoring, and I think points per game, they were number one, and they just freaking ran all over them in the first half. It was a freaking joke. It was one of the best games I've ever seen them just, like, toy with them. It was insane. So I'm not really worried about Cole Beasley being out. Save him. Like, save him for the AFC Championship game. I think they're making it the AFC Championship game. You can get Cole Beasley in there a little bit more dynamic than Gabriel Davis or, you know, Kenny Stills. So, yeah, absolutely. I'm pumped about it, but I'm not really worried about them having one guy out.
All right, on the flip side of the ball, Jared, we'll come back to you. Defensively, the defensive unit hasn't been the strength of the team the way it has in the past. We are going up against a capable, you know, well-rounded offense. Where do you see the defense facing any struggles, if any?
So it's almost going back to your first question. Mainly the running game. I think Dan talked about the receivers perfectly for the Colts. I mean, I might disagree a little bit on Philip Rivers. I still respect the guy tremendously. I mean, he threw for 4,000 yards. He still has it, in my opinion. But his receivers don't really scare me that much. So, and like you also mentioned, throwing it to running backs, tight ends, like that's where a lot of the yardage has been. So I'm looking for a lot of more shorter stuff than longer things from Philip Rivers. So really, it is the running game. And that's where I'm going to sound very similar to before, but clock management. If we can just keep ahead and score and make sure that they're using more of the clock during the running portion, then that's really what we're going to do. That's how to win.
Dan, we are firing at all cylinders, getting scores from the defensive side of the ball and special teams. Do you expect to continue having scoring points in the playoffs outside of just the offense?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, there's no reason to think that wouldn't be the case. I mean, the Bills are just – I mean, is there a hotter team going into the playoffs right now? Honestly, I mean, there's no reason for me to believe that the Bills can't continue to do all these things. I mean, special teams – personally, I didn't think the Bills did great in special teams early in the year, but I mean that Bojorquez punt down to the one, might have been the greatest punt I've ever seen in my life, and I'm not exaggerating. That was just – I don't think he could do that again if he tried 1,000 times. And then you got that punt return for a touchdown. Yeah, like you said, firing on all cylinders. I mean, there's no reason for me to believe that they won't do that again. And I mean, the offense just looks great. Special team, everything is just coming together, and seems like it's at the perfect time, definitely.
Well, you can't. They say you got to peak at the right time. We're certainly doing that.
Absolutely.
Sean, you said that you're calling up for an AFC Championship appearance. So I'm guessing that you're picking the Bills in this one. What's the score going to be?
Oh yeah, I thought about this one earlier. I'm thinking at least 2 score, or at least 35-20 is what I'm picking. And it's not even gonna be that close. I don't think. I think the Bills get out early, and they're gonna have to try and run the ball, close the game out, just like they've done in the past. And I think they get it done. They've had a lot of experience doing that this year.
Dan, you got a pick ready?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this for a little bit now. It's the playoffs, so I'm not gonna. I think it'll be a close game, definitely. Anything can happen in the playoffs. I mean, we all know that. We've all watched enough playoff football to know that. But I don't want to say I'm always gonna go with the Bills, but if I think the Bills are gonna win, I'm gonna go with the Bills. I'm gonna say 31-23 Bills.
All right, Jared.
So I thought about this pretty quickly after the games because I really wanted to look at the scoring of both teams, like who realistically is going to score more, who has all season long. And believe it or not, it's the Bills, but only very slightly. So I'm saying that the Bills are going to win, but I think it's going to be a much closer game. I have the Bills winning 31-28.
Oh, a field goal. All right. Well, that sounds like an exciting game. I think the advantage here is going to come down to coaching. All respect to Frank Reich. I think McDermott has his team in a much better spot. I don't foresee this being a huge challenge to the Bills. I'll have us winning 38-24. So all around Bills fans around here, who would have guessed? That being said, either way, we're going to be back next week to talk about the Bills either going into the divisional round or wrapping up the season so it gets long. So we are so excited. If you like the content, be sure to like and subscribe to our videos. Thank you so much for Dan and Sean returning. Hopefully they'll be back for the rest of the playoffs. And Jared, we'll see you next time for Buffalo Bills pregame.
You missed completely.
I was this far away and I missed.